It is now 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the Granville County Public School Board meeting to order. Let's all pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Our vision: every student will reach his or her full potential, prepared to thrive in a changing world. Our mission: we empower every student every day. Board Member Waters, please lead us in the pledge.
Let us stand. All together, I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the current agenda? If there are no changes to the current agenda, I need to have someone to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve as presented.
A second.
It's been motioned by Daniel Hayes and second by Ms. Russell that the present agenda will be approved. Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes carried. We'll go to now to communication and community. Dr. Winborn, please share your remarks.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, board members, team members, and those community members in attendance and joining via video. February is an important month for our students and our educators. First, I'm excited to share that this week is National School Counselor Week. So it's definitely time to show some love for our amazing counselors. I hope everyone will take a minute to show some appreciation and let these amazing educators know how much they mean to us, all of the important work that they do to serve our children, their families, and improve our schools. So thank you, school counselors, for everything you do every day. I'm very grateful. Next on the list to celebrate is Career and Technical Education, or CTE Month. This is time to recognize and raise awareness about the importance of CTE and how it can prepare our students for the workforce, the military, or post-secondary education in whatever form that may take. It definitely provides our students with opportunities and to develop skills and have experiences that they need to find their why. Find their purpose after they graduate. It's very, very, very good work. We're fortunate here in Granville County Public Schools to have a wide variety of courses and programs available to our students. And with the recent school consolidation that our board has undertaken, these opportunities will be expanding in the 25-26 school year. I'm very happy about that. I hope all of our families and our students will take advantage of these as they begin to think about what classes they're going to take next year, because high school registration is just around the corner this spring. In addition, we're working hard to increase the number of work-based learning opportunities or learning experiences. And we're going to do this not only by expanding our internships, but also pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. And those are partnerships with the North Carolina Department of Labor, Vance Granville Community College, and our surrounding businesses and industries. And you're going to get some additional information about this tonight and some special updates from Mr. Perry and his team. Look forward to hearing more about that. Also, let's not forget that it is Black History Month. I know many of our schools are using this opportunity to highlight the incredible contributions and struggles of the African American community in our country. So please be on the lookout for the special projects, the events, and programs that are being planned in our schools. It's going to be very special. As usual, at tonight's meeting, you're going to receive updates from our academic programs, finance, operations, and HR. And in addition, we're going to be providing the latest information regarding student assignments, staff reassignments, and facility transitions as it relates to consolidation. Lastly, board members, if you'll allow me the opportunity just to remind everyone who's listening, our families, our community members, about the importance of safety and our focus. It is our absolute #1 priority. And these efforts and expectations, they go beyond the school day. They go beyond what happens in our classrooms, and it extends to any and all events that occur on our campuses, especially our athletic events, where large groups come together to enjoy our students competing in games and matches and contests. And I understand that emotions can run high sometimes at these events. It's very exciting. It can be a lot of fun. People get emotionally charged and involved. But we still expect everyone in attendance to be respectful and show good sportsmanship. We will hold everyone accountable for their actions while at these events. And we'll all do our part to try to be examples for our students, examples, us adults, trying to provide examples to them so that we can make our community proud. I mean, our students are definitely worth cheering for. Please don't get me wrong. I love to see the celebration. But let's leave that negativity and conflict, poor conduct behind as you come onto our campuses to enjoy these events. So thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Chair. I look forward to a productive meeting again tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Winborn, for those updates and insights for the upcoming months here. I'd like to add that it's been a very, very busy month for me as chair of this board here. I attended several meetings here. Of course, on January 16th, I went to ESL meeting at Northern Granville. They show great support for our programs, mission very support from Ms. Rice, Ms. Hunt for coordinating that, and they are really excited by being here in Granville County as part of our teaching staff. I also attended the M.L. King program, also on January 20th here. We had 3 of our students here who participated from a high school. They did an outstanding job reading their essays here and what the King's movement and his dream have in their lives here. Also on the 21st, we had a chance to tour our 2 high schools, South Granville Webb High School. Both schools are in need of great repairs here. It also comes with a great ticket to have those things repaired here. And we're searching for money right now to have that done here, because we know that when we show respect for our schools here, we can attract hopefully more students here, and kids can enjoy learning a very orderly, clean learning environment. I attended the Finance Committee on January 23rd here. Ms. Hines shared with us even the current budget here, and I also look forward to 25, 26 as well here, just see how things will look as we move forward to even another school year. You'll probably hear more about that during this meeting here as well. I also attended Mr. Paris' meeting on the 24th, 5th academic meeting as well. And I love the way they are monitoring how the principals are making sure that the students' performance is part of that school improvement plan here. They let data here make sure they are trying to address those needs here to move those scores forward so we have a great outcome at the end of the year. We had a great meeting between the county commissioners on the 27th here, a great retreat here. We discussed about money needs here, things of nature here. Of course, they will do what they can to make sure we can repair our schools here, but funding will still be a very hot topic as we move forward to this school year. And I did attend a game on Friday night. It's between South Granville and Webb High School. It was a great game, although Webb lost the game. But I saw administration from South Granville there, also law enforcement as well there. Great game, kids enjoyed that, but my school lost. Maybe we'll win next time. Thanks so much. You have anything to share for Water Waters?
Good evening, everyone. It is with great pleasure that I say yes, 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 I did have a chance to do some things since our last official connection here. Went to graduation. What a joyous occasion it was to see these students that continue to move forward in order to receive what they needed to increase the betterment of their educational future. I did the ESL parent night on the northern end. I wasn't able to make the southern end. And the presenters were very, very, very informative about what they do, how they do it, and the customers that they serve. The program, there's a lot of hope for the program. Of course, they need more people. So if you're out and you can pluck a flower that says, I'm a person and I can do ESL, pull them on in here with us. I did attend the Martin Luther King breakfast, which I was elated to hear the essays written by the students from early college. And later that evening, I also attended another MLK event, and I heard essays from students from Webb. Might I say, all of them presented themselves well and did an excellent job, and they have a great outlook on what's ahead for them and their plans. Did attend several athletic events. I think the last one was Thursday night. I didn't go Friday, but I did Thursday between Webb and Vance Senior High. Visited Northern Granville for a little while, and also Phoenix. And I was so glad to go there, and when I went there, along with visiting, I also paid respects in reference to Mr. Dawson McCaden, to his sister, took a little token, let her know, you know what, we're thinking about you. And this past Saturday, I went to a boot camp training. Yay. Still trying to learn procedures and things because I want to step right, act right, be right, say right. So you're never too old to learn. So therefore, I did that on Saturday. I did attend academics meeting, and thank you, Mr. Perry, for such an informative meeting and sharing percentages and where we need to focus and what needs to be done, and I've got your back 100%. Also, I attended the operations committee meeting, and boy, did I learn some things I never thought. Thank you very much. Quite informative. Mr. Carroll did a good job. I am looking forward to Reading Across America, which is coming up in March. I already get my invitations. I love to read and tell stories, so I'm going to be number one on that. And I will be going to the Growth Parade at West Oxford this month, and I also received something about Leadership Day from Wilton. So I'm looking forward to that. I've made it my business when out during the day or night, wherever, to make a connection with families, parents, and students, no matter where I am, on a positive note. To reflect on the positivity of our school as well as their experience with our schools. And I think that might be it for me, but thank you very much for my time.
Thank you for sharing. Board member?
Oh, one more
Excuse
thing. Did a podcast today. And we did a very, very, very good job, ladies and gentlemen that might be in the room. So keep your ears on so that you can hear our responses and the questions.
Thank you, Chair. Board member.
Good evening, everyone. I was able to attend the tour through J.F. Webb and South Granville this past month, and witnessed a lot of things that really need to be done at South Granville. And we know we have a chart of all those and what really needs to be done as soon as the funding is available. I'd like to say kudos to Principal Larry Farabee at J.F. Webb. He's done an outstanding job of improving that school, and it really, really looks great. So I applaud him quite a bit since he's come on board at what he's done at that institution. I also attended the district safety meeting with Chief King, and that was very informative because I agree. I said it on the podcast as well with Ms. Waters and Dr. Lindsay. And when you watch it, I probably said safety way too many times, but I couldn't plug it in enough because I know that's our number one priority. And so with Chief King leading the safety meeting, I learned a lot in the meeting, and I learned that that has to be what we focus on in this year. And then the county commissioners' joint meeting last week, very informative. It always comes out every time we have one of those, which I'm new, and this is the first one I have attended, but I actually sat in on the last one we had as a visitor. And they are always informative. I think we really put everything out there to focus on as a team, and we know what we got to do, and now we can figure out how we can do it. So again, a very informative meeting, and was very glad to attend that. Thank you.
Board. Thank you. Board Member Hayes?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. It seems like forever ago when we were all at winter graduation right after our last meeting. So I went to a lot of the same stuff that you guys did, the district safety task force meeting. I went to the Creedmoor MLK breakfast. You know, I went to the academic committee meeting. So I'll just share mostly the stuff that other board members probably weren't at. So after our calendar committee meeting on the 22nd, I actually had a meeting with Dr. Ham and Safety Director Keith King, and we were able to hear a presentation from Safety Vision about the bus arm cameras. So I'm not sure if that's going to move forward, but we did hear some really good information from them. The possibility that maybe we could figure out how to make it not a net loss for the district to install cameras. So we'll see how that works out, and I'll continue to keep you guys updated and informed on how those meetings go as we talk about it more and more.
Ms. Hayes, will you remind us what that does, just for those listening?
Sure. So bus arm cameras. So they're cameras that go on our school buses on the arms, so that, and they're controlled by AI, and the purpose of these cameras is to deter or catch people that want to drive by extended bus arms when our school buses stop to allow students on and off. Actually, I was thinking it couldn't possibly be that many people doing it, but visiting another district and talking to the Safety Vision representative, it seems like it actually is a really common problem. And, you know, as much as we talk about safety in this district and the thousands of students that ride our buses every single day, you know, this is something that I feel like could be really important for us if we can figure out how to make that work. So I'm excited about the prospect. I don't know if it's going to pan out, but you know, we'll see. And I think it could be something really important for us to do. Also, on the 25th, I went to the Great Lakes 2A Conference Wrestling Tournament at Granville Central, and cheered on all three of our high schools all day on Saturday from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that was a long day, but everybody was great, very well behaved. All of the coaches and the athletes and the spectators, everybody was fantastic. They all exhibited great sportsmanship, so that was a great day. On the 31st, I got together with Creedmoor Commissioner Kaczynski, and we actually baked cookies and took them over to our staff at South Granville High School and thanked them for working with all of the Hawley staff and the PTO, because I hope most of you are aware that South Granville has provided all of the athletic facilities for Hawley all year long. So that South Granville's just been amazing. They've worked around schedules and let us use their concession stands, and the staff there has just been amazing to work with. So I wanted to give a special thanks to them and give them a little boost for, you know, not having a teacher work day on Friday. So appreciated them being there. This past Saturday, I was in Franklinton cheering on Northern Granville and Hawley at their MAC-10 conference tournament. And then today, I was actually interviewed by an independent journalist about our H-1B visas and was able to talk about all of the wonderful efforts that we're doing here in Granville County to recruit and retain talent in our school system. So that was really great. And I want to thank our counselors for the awesome work that they're doing. I hope they're all, our high school counselors are all working hard, especially with our seniors, sending them scholarship applications and getting honor cords ready and all the great things for graduation coming up. And yeah, I look forward to the month ahead.
Thank you, Sharon. Ms. Anderson, please share.
Yes, well, a lot of us go to the same sessions, and I really enjoy going to different sessions with our board members, my fellow board members. So I'll just go through some of the things that I did do as we did go through to the sessions. I'll start off with the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast. Yes, we did that. I'm a member of the Human Relations Commission, and I was the presiding officer for the MLK breakfast and the essays and everything, and that was a great session. It was a great session. Actually, I went to the same day. I think you did as well.
Yeah, we did.
Went to another one as well. Also, as you already have said, we did the tour for South Granville High School and J.F. Webb, and that was very, very eye-opening and interesting, and I know we've discussed it a little bit. Yes, as far as the committees that I'm on, academic committee, had a great session listening to our leaders in that area. That was just great what they are doing. We know that we're getting some great actions being done by the academic committee and also the finance committee. I went to that session also. And of course, the county commissioners and Board of Education joint session. That was a very, very rewarding session. That was a session that, coming together, and everybody focusing, and we could tell they were definitely focusing on some of the same areas that we focus on. I did go to the ESL parent night as well, and also the district safety meeting as well. So some great sessions and seeing a lot of great things. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Board Member Russell, please share.
Good evening, everyone. I was there at all these other committee meetings as well, and events that people went to. This past Saturday, I was with Mr. Waters, and we went to the Carolina Academic Leadership Network boot camp from 8 to 5. So that was a really long day, but it was worth it. We listened to 5 speakers, and they talked about grassroots community movements and involvement and parliamentary procedures and curriculum, and it was intense. It was truly a boot camp. And then today, I was with the county commissioners and fellow board members at the countywide litter initiative sponsored or organized by former Representative Frank Sossaman. And it was a really good turnout, and it was a lot of enthusiasm because litter affects communities, it affects schools, it affects real estate, and it's an initiative that you're going to be hearing more about. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was worthwhile, and I committed to taking some litter bags about don't be litter bugs to the elementary school in my district. And then I also received photos of the recent South Granville varsity basketball team. The boys were participating in a community service event where they packed meals for hunger. And Coach Wolfwood sent me some photographs, and he was so proud of them and their community involvement, and I am too, and he should be. It speaks volumes about our students and our staff as well. Also, I was at graduation, and that was very exciting. I got to shake the hands of all the graduates and got to sit on stage and wear a gown, and it brought back a lot of memories. All the graduating seniors from Webb and South Granville and Granville Central were there, and they were just just well-behaved, so excited. Parents, it was good to be able to talk to parents and students and teachers. I was at the MLK breakfast on January 20th with Dr. Linda Jordan, our mayor from Butner, keynote speaker, and all the winners, the first place winners from the high school early college. They read their essays, and then one young lady from Hawley Middle School read her essays, and I was just so proud. And I said, they're all from District 7, right? including the mayor. So District 7 represented really well at the Human Relations breakfast. And then that afternoon at 4 o'clock, I was with Dr. Kozart, our county commissioner, was the featured speaker there. And then there were 3 young cadets, and they were in uniform, and they spoke at this afternoon program about the efforts of Dr. King's dream to fulfill the promises of democracy. And they were well-written essays. They were well-delivered. I was just very impressed. The tour of South Granville High School and Webb High School, it showed a lot needs to be done at South Granville. It was very eye-opening, and I applaud the staff and students there because they are still performing and doing well despite the physical conditions that they have to be educated in. And J.F. Webb was just like night and day. It was so clean. It was so quiet. South Granville was quiet too. So kudos to our principal at South Granville and at Webb, because they seem to be doing an excellent job. And I want to thank Dr. Winborn and Mr. Perry and everybody for supporting them. Despite what the physical building looks like, they're still performing well. And I know that's a tough job. And then I was at our finance committee meeting on January 30th and our operations committee meeting, and I'm still learning. And we have a lot to do and some tough choices to make. And the county commissioners meeting was also eye-opening. And I also took a card of condolence to the J.F. Webb staff for the loss of Mr. Dawson, McCaddy, and to the J.F. Webb staff. We're so sorry for their loss. So, yeah, I've been busy this month.
Oh, good, thank you.
Excuse
guys.
me, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
May I say one thing, please?
Please go ahead.
While attending the winter graduation,
Mhm.
you know, too many times we see things and we don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes to hear something good. And this is Counselor's Month, correct?
Right, it is.
Okay. I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Dana Small. He brought one of the students from way up there, graduation. And it was obvious that he was needed, but he had heart in what he did. I watched him. He made sure the tie was on correctly. The equipment the young man had was working. He walked with him in, he sat with him, and he was able to give him some verbal commands. And I just want to applaud him because that was above and beyond. And I think he did a beautiful job, and he brought him there. So, Mr. Small, if you're listening, thank you so much for your heartfelt dedication. I'm sorry, but I just needed to say.
Thanks for sharing that. That's well to be shared out in our meeting here. All right, thank you all for sharing once again. Let's move to the next item on the agenda, please. Student, staff, and school highlights. Is that our video?
Yes, so Ms. Hammett made another video this month, and you will see there are some very special highlights for some students who have achieved some awesome, awesome things this year, so, and this past month, so I hope you enjoy it.
Okay.
Dr. Kern, next item on the agenda, public comments, please.
Yes, you did receive one digital public comment, and that is in your folders. We do also have one person signed up for the in-person public comment. Each speaker will receive no more than 5 minutes to present comments. However, the public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes total, except by majority vote of the board. Speakers will be recognized in the order in which they signed in. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. If a speaker is unable to present all of his or her information within the specified time limit, the speaker may provide the board with the additional information in written form. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. The laws and policies of North Carolina provide that issues or concerns involving individual personnel matters are confidential and therefore not appropriate for public comment settings. Concerns related to personnel issues may be addressed through applicable GCPS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Profane or vulgar language or personal abuse against any individual will not be permitted. And our only speaker who signed up tonight is Mr. Baba Carr, who is speaking on after-school student support. Mr. Carr, if you're ready.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Baba Carr. I live at 212 Granville Street, Oxford, North Carolina. Let me first of all say, before I even start reading this, Oxford Public School, just like when I was in Durham, I always say that the public school got the best teachers, the most qualified teachers. So there's a lot of expectations from you, a lot of expectations from the board. And so we're expecting you to do everything you can do to ensure that our children graduate from high school. I'd like to encourage the school board, especially the school board commissioners who were recently voted on the board, to continue working for our children. The fact of the matter is that there need to be changes made on the school board in the interest of our children. The fact is that most important folks in our school system are our children. It is for this reason why the parent and the community must develop after-school programs in math, language arts, science, and other subject areas as needed to ensure that our students do better in their education. This, we hope, will increase our graduating classes in Granville County, as our graduating classes are very low. It is very, very low. That number is so low that I wonder what's going on. We got to get that number up. It is noted as a matter of fact that the last set of voters made it crystal clear that education was one of the most important priority. It is for this reason that we are asking that encouragement and financial assistance, where necessary, be given to after-school programs to uplift and allow our children to catch up in their studies. This, we hope, will ensure that more of our students will graduate from high school and go on to higher studies. The school board has been given a mandate for change. The parents and the community are depending on you. However, most of all, the children are depending on you, school board. Thank you, Babakar.
Okay. All right, now we'll move on to consent items, section 4. This was meetings from our January 6th meeting. It's just an action agenda item as well. We can approve them all at one time. Consent 4 items from our January 6th meeting. Okay.
Would you like for us to do all the consent items?
Yes,
then?
yes, please.
Okay. Motion to approve 4.01, 4.02, and 4.03 as presented.
Second.
It's been motioned by Board Member Hayes, second by Mr. Baker here to approve the consider items from January 6th meeting. Ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same
Aye.
right. Ayes carried. Field trip? Dr. Is that field trip?
We did that.
Thank you. Thank you. We're moving down to academics, Mr. Perry and his team.
Good evening, members of the board and those in the general public that are viewing this tonight. Tonight, we will share information with you about several program areas. We will start off with an update on the open enrollment. We'll talk about our Exceptional Children's Program, give you an update there about where we've been and where we're headed, and our Student Services update with attendance and discipline. So I'll start off with Ms. Hunt, who will give us a brief overview of our open enrollment update. As a reminder, here's our academic goals for 24-25. Our goal is to make sure that 50% in all GCPS schools have a school performance grade of C or better, meeting and exceeding growth. Ms. Hunt?
Good evening, Chairman of the Board, Dr. Wimborne, and all our board members. So I will give you an update of our open enrollment. If you can go to the next slide, thank you. So as of Thursday of last week, when I pulled the report, you can see that we have 179 responses. As you can see that the highest so far who are asking for a transfer for the first time in this upcoming school year is South Granville with 79. As of today at lunchtime, we now have 215 responses, and we have 91 for South Granville High School. So we will definitely have a lottery for those students that are applying to go to South Granville High School. So as you can see, the window does close tomorrow, and all of our numbers show so far the students who are asking for a first-time transfer. The next slide. This is just communication that we have been sending home. We have been putting information on our social media. We have been having phone calls made to all of our parents, sending out reminders about our open enrollment. As of last Thursday, we had over 600 parents that had registered for this year's upcoming open enrollment, either to retain their child's seat or to transfer for the first time. So just a reminder to all parents, open enrollment closes tomorrow. It is the last day, and all parents will be notified by February the 24th for all of our schools, including Early College and Granville Academy. Are there any questions?
Ms. Hunt, if you'll go back one slide, Mr. Connor. So board members, thank you, Ms. Hunt, great information. The reason, just to make this clear, why we will be having a lottery for South Granville is because the number of folks that have requested to go to that school for the first time, added to the number of students that we project will be there already next year, will exceed the reasonable capacity for the school. So we will be using the criteria that you shared, or you agreed to regarding the weighted lottery. And Ms. Hunt and I will be meeting later this week to go over that process, and I will, of course, provide you updates on how that shakes out. Because that will likely all happen prior to the next board meeting. We have to get this turned around quickly so that all of our students will know where they are prior to high school registration, which, Mr. Perry, begins beginning of March, right?
So it's not really a lottery. Lottery makes
Yes.
it sound totally random.
It is not totally random. Thank you for saying that. It is a weighted lottery because there is an element of chance. However, depending on certain criteria, students will have improved odds at being chosen. Yes. And those were shared previously in presentations here in our board meetings. And of course, all of that will be transparent. We'll provide that information to any and all families.
Is there any reason to be concerned about the capacities of any of the other schools, like Mount Energy? I mean, I think they currently have 60 or so.
I think we're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, choice students, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good news. I think we'll be fine.
Excellent.
That's
I
the
have a
only
question.
school where the demand will exceed the capacity.
So the lot, how many will be able to go based on the criteria that you set up?
We have not arrived at that exact number yet, but as I've mentioned before, it is somewhere between 900 and 950 is the target range that we're shooting for. So thank you so much, Ms. Hunt. This has been a very challenging process to keep track of, and it's moving quickly.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we'll hear from Dr. Suzanne Cotterman, who will share more information about our Exceptional Children's Department.
I'm sorry. Can we go back?
Sure.
One more.
Come on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, oh, you
We're
just want
good.
to see more
We're good to
information?
answer my
Okay,
question.
all right.
Thanks, we're good. Sorry.
No problem. So thank you very much for having me and allowing me to give you an update tonight on our wonderful EC department, which I'm very proud of. I wanted to kind of start with some quick facts because I know we have some new board members, so I wanted to give you some background information. As you know, we're driven by federal law, which is IDEA, or the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. We do serve kids from age 3, so preschool age, to they age out at 22. I know it says 21, but they're allowed to stay with us until they turn 22. There are 14 eligibility categories, and they have very specific criteria. So when we're making decisions about students with disabilities, we have to look at that criteria and make sure that we're making those decisions based on data and not, you know, hopes and feelings and the things that we all have for our children. One of the things that we look at is this lack of achievement because of lack of instruction? So for example, if a student has been absent quite frequently, that could impact instruction. We also look at, is this a child's first language? We don't want to identify a child with a disability if it is a language barrier, so we look at those pieces. We look at, does this affect the child's educational performance in an adverse way? And we also look at, does that child need specially designed instruction? Because there are sometimes students who meet the eligibility criteria, but they don't need specially designed instruction. They're doing just fine. They've learned coping skills. And so those are all of the pieces that the IEP team looks at. And we want to make sure that parents know that they are a very important member of that IEP team. So they would have equal say in what happens for their child and what those goals and objectives are. And again, we base them on the data that we have in front of us. We also provide a full continuum of services, and that's kind of EC speak for we serve kids we give them what they need. So we have some students that are medically fragile, and we serve them in their homes because they can't come to school for some reason. We have some students who we go into their gen ed classrooms and we give them services there. We have some pre-K students that we go to their child care centers and we provide services. We have some students where parents bring them in, and you kind of see the idea. It's, you know, lots of different ways we can provide services for our students. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk a little bit about funding because, as you know, there has been some proposed changes. So I'm going to talk about how we've been funded in the past, and then I will talk about what those changes might look like. So in the past, we have had 2 child counts, or sometimes called head counts, on December 1st and April 1st. December 1st was a federal child count, and basically that's based on how many students we have that are eligible and in services on December 1st. So, you know, there are students sometimes that don't get counted if they're brand new or they're still in the referral process, but we work really hard to make sure we can count every child. And we get a set amount per child based on that. On April 1st, that's the state funding model, and so again, we would do a child count, but that's actually 13% of our ADM on that date. So I'm going to show you a slide that kind of talks about why we're not fully funded for our students, because in most districts exceed that 13% cap. And there's no consideration about student need. So, one district could have students who have very minimal services, and another district could have students who require lots of services, but they're going to get the same funding based on the ADM. Next slide, please. So this has been a proposal for a very long time to make these changes to the EC funding. And in December of 2023, the legislature tasked the Department of Public Instruction with coming up with a proposal. And so that has been presented to the legislature. It has not been approved yet. My understanding is they are going to talk about it in this session as well. But it really is a funding in arrears model. So in preparation for that, what DPI has done is this year we are only having a December 1 child count. So there will not be any April 1st child count. What we have on December 1st is what we will get funding for next year until December 1st again. So technically, we're getting funded for the past kids, and I'm going to show you that we do grow significantly after December 1st every year. But the good news is that they're proposing to base that funding on the educational environment, the frequency and intensity of services and supports, and who is providing those supports. So, for example, if you have a student who's getting speech and language from a speech pathologist 30 minutes a week, as opposed to a student who has a personal nurse and those kinds of things, that funding model could look very different. In the past, they were getting the same amount of money. And now it will be based on those services. So that is a really profound change that we are hoping happens. Also, there is a provision for contracted services included. As you know, it's getting more and more difficult to find certified staff. And so we do contract for some of our services, and so they have taken that into consideration. Central office is not funded in this new model, so there would be no funding for central services. And DPI has made it really clear that this doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be more money available. It's just going to be taking the existing money and redistributing it to districts based on their student need. So we will keep an eye on that and let you know what is coming out of the legislature. But as of right now, DPI has said the feeling is positive that, some form of this will happen, so hence taking away the April 1st child count. Next slide, please. So I mentioned and talked a little bit about these numbers, and so I wanted to just give you the past 4 years. I avoided 2020 because we all know what happened that year, and it was not a normal year. But as you can see, our numbers of students with disabilities is dropping based on ADM as well. That is also dropping, but our percentages are not dropping. So our percentages of students with disabilities in our district have remained fairly steady, meaning that we have more students with disabilities that we're serving in our classrooms. And I also want to point out the April 1st and for 2023 and 2024, I did include that because as you can see, those percentages are 15.7%. So we did grow during that time. But I did want us to kind of recognize that we are not serving less students with disabilities. We are, in fact, probably serving more, even though our ADM is going down. Next slide, please. Thank you. So with that cheery news, I wanted to talk about all our successes. So we have some focus areas, and we're working really hard on these areas, and I'll try to be brief, but again, I'm really proud of my department, so I'll talk quickly. We have really taken a very close look at our professional development. We always walk the line between pulling teachers away from students and giving them what they need. Because as you know, the Exceptional Children's Department has a lot of rules and regulations and can be very complicated. And we have new staff. So this year, what we did was we made sure we gave very targeted professional development to groups that we felt really needed it. All of our schools have a school teacher leader, which is an EC teacher that has experience. And this year, we used to meet monthly, and those would be updates. They would get current updates. This year, we decided that we were only going to meet 4 times a year, but we were going to pull them half-day, and instead of just doing updates, we were going to actually do some deep professional development that they could then go back to their building and give to their teachers, so that we weren't pulling our teachers out necessarily, but they were still getting what they need. We also targeted new teachers this year. So as you know, we have a lot of new teachers. We made sure intentionally that we wrapped that around very important things that they would need to do, like transition. And so we timed it so that they're only coming in 5 times, but they are doing it at a time when it's needed, and those are after school. We also targeted, and this is the one that I think I'm very excited about, we targeted general education teachers, because we know we're including more students with disabilities in their classroom. And so we offered online virtual PDs with us, only for an hour because we didn't want to overwhelm them, but we also wanted very targeted strategies. So for example, the last one that we did, we talked about visuals. How do you use visuals in your classroom? And we gave them strategies that they could walk out with that day and use. And they were very excited. We'd love to see that grow, and we're hoping word of mouth helps with that. So that has been really, really great this year. We've also done school compliance audits, so my whole leadership team has taken 1 full day at each school, and we're about halfway through to do an audit using the DPI forms. So we are using, forms that the Department of Public Instruction always uses with our EC folk. And we did that for a couple of reasons, not as a gotcha, but as a preparation, and also to inform our professional development as to what we're seeing. What are the trends that we're seeing? We found out least restrictive environment is definitely a trend that we need to work on, and so we were very happy that we're targeting what we need to target. We meet with the entire team, including the administrator, and we require the administrator to be there so that we can share the glows and grows and really help them. And we are actually asking them to do corrective action. So we're coming, and most of the corrective action has just been kind of general things. And so we're coming back 30 days later and randomly pulling some folders and to see, have they made changes that we talked about? Because it's a big commitment to spend a full day at every school. And so we want to make sure that they're growing as well. And so that's been really helpful. For the least restrictive environment, again, we're looking at all staff and branching out more and more into helping general ed teachers support students with disabilities. My leadership team has gone through the DPI co-teaching certification, and it was not an easy lift. It was a lot. We had to take tests and do homework and all that kind of stuff. But the reason why we did that was not so that we could implement a new program. It was so that we could help our teachers that were going into general ed settings and help them be more effective, so that they weren't watching the other teacher teach and really just kind of being a assistant or that kind of thing. They could really be an integral part of that classroom. And so we're very happy to say that we can help teachers and increase support. And then also, we've been focusing, of course, on our eligibility criteria and service delivery. There's been lots of new criteria that's come down, and we want to make sure that we are on top of that. So we've been working on that. The extended content standards. So what extended content standards are, they are core standards, but they are for our students who really need that different pacing. So they might need lots of repetition. They might need things broken down a little differently. DPI says that we should be under 1% of students that really need that level, and the reason why is because that is not a diploma track. So if you're putting a child on extended content standards, they're going to get a certificate of completion and not a high school diploma. And so we want to make sure that, you know, we're giving students as much opportunity as we can before we make those kind of decisions. But for our students who need that, we are really ramping up the curriculum. I do have a program specialist who taught ECS and is very knowledgeable about the extended content standards, and she is going in and coaching and observing all of our teachers, making sure they're using the curriculum. Just because it's an extended content standards doesn't mean they don't have to use the district appropriate standards, and we want them to do that. And we want to make sure our kids are getting our best. And so we're working on that as well. And then, of course, everyone's favorite topic, behavior. We are certainly looking at that. We are on the warning list for disproportionality. There's lots of different kinds, but the one that we are on the warning list with the Department of Public Instruction for is suspending students with disabilities over 10 days. And so what we're working on is really helping schools know what else they can do. So what are we changing when the student comes back? What interventions are we putting in place for this student? And part of that is looking at a functional behavioral assessment, which really tells us why is this behavior happening, what is the child getting out of it, and replacing it with a behavior that's appropriate. And then a behavior intervention plan so that everyone who's working with this child knows when A happens, you do B. So it's consistent and that child learns those regulation strategies. We've got a position this year. It's not a new position. We repurposed one of our program specialists because this was such a big area, and we realized that trying to do compliance and coaching on academics and all those kinds of things was not really helping us work with behavior. And so we took one of our program specialists and we hired someone who is very experienced with behavior, and she has really hit the ground running. She is doing lots of coaching, supporting, professional developments. Hopefully, if we don't lose March 14th, we are going to train all of our teaching assistants to, to help support that as well. And we do have lots of ways that we can help students with behavior now and really support schools, parents, and students, of course, with, learning these strategies. We've always used nonviolent crisis intervention management and training, but it's kind of fallen off over the years. So she is our new program specialist, has taken the lead on that as well. We do have 3 trainers. I don't know if you know anything about CPI, but it's very expensive to have your own trainer to train them, but once they're trained, you can train anyone in your district. And so we're very proud that we have 3 trainers, and what we're working on right now is getting on a regular schedule, because when you are CPI certified, you have to refresh every year. And so one of the things, when you hear CPI, sometimes people think physical intervention, and that is a piece of that training, because sometimes you do have to put your hands on children, even though we never advocate for that. But sometimes to keep them safe, you might have to do that. But the reality of this training is 99% of it is on de-escalation, regulating techniques, how do you work with a child who's in crisis, all of those things that we want our teachers to know and our staff to know how to do. So it's not just physical intervention. Next slide, please. And then our future priorities, again, we're going to continue to focus on the least restrictive environment, meaning we are going to put kids as much as possible with those expert teachers who can give them that core curriculum. We are going to make sure that they are making friends and that they're with their peers and have role models and all those good things. And then indicator 8, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. That's something, it's not new, it's a federal indicator. But in the past, only the big districts, Wake, Charlotte Mac, had to do it every year. Everybody else did it every 5 years. And now DPI has changed that, so we will be doing it every year. It started on January 6th, and our media department has posted on our website. We've sent letters home that can be put in the school offices, and a letter to every parent, EC parent. And basically, they've taken this and revamped it. The old survey used to be like 30 questions, and it was very ambiguous. Some of the questions, we were like, what does this mean? And the new one's only 3 questions. So, and those 3 questions are, I have been asked for my opinion about how well special education services are meeting my child's needs. Question 2 is teacher and administrators, thank you, seek out parent input. And number 3 is the school gives me the help I may need to play an active role in my child's education. So they're very basic, but they also give us an idea of how parents are feeling and a temperature. The nice part is DPI has provided a dashboard, so I can see every district in the county, but I can also drill down just into our data. And as of today, I looked at it, we've had 50 responses already. I'm happy to say we're ahead of many districts. And I think that is really a function of our media person who has really helped promote this, but also our teachers who are talking to parents and, you know, our offices that are putting out flyers, that kind of thing. It will be open till June 30th, so parents do have an opportunity. The goal is 50% of district parents that have students with disabilities respond. And, you know, I like the idea of the dashboard because I can make corrections now if I'm seeing something. I don't have to wait until June 30th to make those corrections. So it's a good thing. And you'll see I put the QR code and the link to the survey right on the slide for you. Next slide. Oh, so I would be very happy to take any questions that you have. I know I gave you a lot of information.
I have one question.
Sure.
You said that we received a warning from Raleigh because spending kids 2 minutes past 10 days. Was that a written warning or verbal warning? What's the consequence if we're not adhering to?
It's students that have been suspended more than 10 days. So it could be in-school or out-of-school suspension, but mostly out-of-school suspension is what they're looking at. So it's, once students are suspended 10 days, they have to have what's called a manifestation determination meeting. And in that meeting, they have to determine, is it a function of their disability or not? But DPI's disproportionality means that compared to how many students we have, we are suspending more students with disabilities over 10 days than gen ed students.
So how are you trying to correct that?
Well, I think part of that, that's a great question. I think a big part of that is education of our, you know, for our teachers and really learning how do I infuse some of those things, you know, into my classroom to help with some of these behaviors and putting those supports in. Secondly, I'm working really closely with Ms. Rice, Student Services. We are talking about, you know, how do we prevent and not, you know, intervene afterwards. And so we're certainly looking at helping people understand what is the function of this behavior, how can we replace this with positive behaviors, all of those types of things. So it really is going, it's not going to change overnight, but it really is going to be getting to those kids as soon as possible. Especially our preschoolers, I'm really kind of focusing there too, because when they come to kindergarten, they can already have those skills. You know, so that regulation is much easier when you're younger and you're learning those skills of how to problem solve and make friends and all those kinds of things. So lots of things we can do. It's just going to take some time to really help everybody understand that.
I got one more question. Do we have all certified teachers with our students who have a disability in our classroom?
No. We do right now have one substitute, I believe. I think there's one. I'd have to double check that, but we do not have totally certified teachers with all of our students.
So how are you making sure that those subs are given the education based on their exceptionality?
So I mentioned that we have a school teacher leader in every school, right? So they are really supporting that person, as well as we are making sure that a certified teacher is sort of supervising that person. So they're writing the lesson plans, they're working with that person to really help them in that classroom to make sure that the students are getting their services. In a couple of our classrooms, we have the TA, the teaching assistant, who's been there for a really long time and is almost a certified teacher, taking that place because she knows the students and that kind of thing. So we have put, you know, things in place to make sure that they're not just being forgotten.
I have a question.
Dr. Cotterman, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Just for context regarding staffing,
Yes.
how does right now compared to the past couple of years?
Oh, it's fabulous compared to the past couple of years. I think when I began 3 years ago, we had like 18 openings. And now I think we have 1 or 2, and next year we probably won't have any. So, knock on wood. So, we have worked really hard, and I can't take all the credit for that. HR has really, stepped up to the plate and really helped us find quality candidates. And, we're really pleased with the quality of the people that we've gotten. We, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but we're not desperate enough to take anybody. We want high quality for our kids. And so, we've really worked hard to find those quality candidates.
I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned crisis prevention, intervention, training and workshops, and you're requiring, is it only for exceptional children teachers, or is it for everybody?
It's for anybody who wants to have that training. So we have schools that have the front receptionists trained, the administrators are trained, the social workers are trained. Really the school determines who they would like trained and who is available to do that. But all of our EC teachers are required to be trained.
So is it just starting back like this year? Because you said it kind of fell off.
Well, no, when I came in 3 years ago, we did start it back, but we are still trying to catch up on making sure everybody who was trained is either retrained or refreshed and get on a regular schedule, because what we don't want to do is have some people running out in January, some people running out in, and we also have some schools that have requested they want more people trained. So we're trying to think outside the box. Just to give some context, to train a new person who has never had CPI is a full 2-day training. And so again, we don't want to pull our teachers out of classrooms when they need to instruct. 2 full days is a lot, and you have to have a sub and all of those things. So we're really trying to think outside the box. I know my behavior person is doing a refresher training. Instead of 1 full day, she's doing it after school twice, so that, we're not pulling people out. So we're trying to think outside the box, but still get that training for our teachers and our staff.
So you don't know yet if the training is having an effect or making a difference with the behavior yet?
Well, it's definitely making a difference. I think the main piece right now is we want to make sure our kids are safe and our staff is safe. And so, having this training, make sure that if a kid is having a crisis, that person that's handling that crisis has the background and knowledge to know, I should do this, I shouldn't do this, that we're not just willy-nilly doing something that might be dangerous for both the child and for us. And so that is why we're really pushing for this training, just so that our staff has that awareness, so they're safe and our children are safe as well.
Excuse me, just my little 2 cents. I know you said that not all certified teachers are trained. I would like to put a plug in and say, speaking from experience, regular classroom teachers have just as many kids with behaviors that have just not been identified.
I totally
that
agree.
they're struggling with. So what would it take for every teacher to be trained? And I'm not saying it has to be done in the middle of the year, but let's start off on a good foot for the incoming.
I totally hear what you're saying, and that is the goal, that eventually everyone will be trained. It's going to take some time. We have a large staff, and, again, we've got to balance that with how much they have on their plates already. But we definitely we already have general ed staff that are trained. We have teachers that are trained. We have social workers that are trained. We have other people that are trained. But we always can increase that, and that is the goal, to have everyone have that training. I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but we're going to keep rolling until we get it done.
Okay, I'm really interested in that, so I know I'll be coming back to you about
Okay.
Will we be offering any of that type of training to parents?
No.
Because it seems like to me that, a lot of this, like you said, catch them young, right? You were talking
Yes.
about focusing on pre-K.
Yes.
If you can get them to regulate those emotions and learn how to deal with those behaviors at a very early age, that can a lot of these things can be prevented. Not all, but a lot. So I'm just wondering if maybe instead of trying to focus on the entirety of our staff and all of the 10 million things that they have on their plates every single day already, and all of the professional development and all the training and all the continuing ed and everything that our teachers and staff are forced to do, already, that maybe working with the parents of these students to teach them to teach their own children how to deal with these issues might be more productive.
And I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree at all. I don't think CPI is a program for parents. However, I do think, and again, I mentioned that I was working with Ms. Rice, I do think that's where we're headed with the prevention models and really helping parents understand that. I know last year we did a parent behavioral kind of training, and they really loved that. So we are definitely reaching out to parents with that information. Our preschool teachers do a fabulous job really inviting parents in and showing them how to do those things. So I think we are doing that. We could certainly do more of that. I think our parents are asking. They're asking for that kind of help. And so we're certainly doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Kotterman, I just want to thank you and your team, all your teachers, for the amazing job that you do. It's the program is in excellent shape. Keep up the great leadership.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board members. I'm going to highlight our monthly attendance behavior and a little bit about our counselors and student services department. For month 4 of our principal's monthly report for attendance, again, that district goal, it's a lofty goal, 96.5. Overall, in the month of December, this is December, we're down. Just keep in mind that is because we were down last year. We have lots of students who do not have excused absences because they are exempt from exams or may not have an exam on that schedule. So that is why our high school is so low. And then elementary and middle school are at 91.6 and 90.7. Shout out to Wilton Elementary School. They are our overall highest school with attendance for month 4. And then our secondary school with the highest attendance is Butner STEM Middle School at 91.4. Next slide. So you can see where that compares to over the months for this year, but also compared to last year. So again, last year in December we were down, but we're higher this year than we were last year for month 4. Next slide. Behavior. This was way down. But let's keep in mind, let's be honest, it looks great, but we weren't in school a whole lot during January. So I do not want to just mislead you with the data. So, but our total referral information is that we had 115, that should say 2025 up top, but we had 115 referrals in January. They're listed there by the grade spans, with in-school suspension at 51 and out-of-school suspension at 23. The top offenses, again, are excessive tardiness, disruptive behavior, and then aggressive behavior. And just so you'll know how that equates to those suspension students being out of class or school, it's 53 total days that students have missed due to in-school suspension, and then 106 for out-of-school suspension. Any questions?
And that bottom right, Ms. Rice, those are number of days, not students.
Number of days. I'm trying to,
Total.
days out of class.
Gotcha.
Yep. Next slide. So you will see that it looks great compared to last year, but remember, we had no snow last year, so but we are still, we'll take it. While they were in school, they were behaving. We did not have as many referrals as we normally do, and so we were significantly down for the month of January with our behavior. Next slide. So Dr. Kotterman highlighted student services and us working together. So as Dr. Winborn let you know at the beginning, this is National School Counselors Week. And I just wanted to give you a snapshot of some of the work they have done so far this year. They had to turn in basically a contact log that we have to turn into the state at the beginning of the year of all of our student service personnel and what sort of contacts they have with student, and it has to be disaggregated, not by student, but what the contact, is it for academic support? Is it for behavioral support? Is it for needs, whether it's school supplies, food? So they keep a running record of the contacts that they have. And so I just pulled, I did not, randomly, a high school, a middle school, and an elementary school. So one high school counselor, their sheet showed that they have already had over 800 academic sessions between their group sessions and their individual student meetings, because they go into classrooms and meet, and they also meet individually with students.
Ms. Rice, what's an academic session?
So an academic session is actually to talk about what are your academic plans? How are your grades going? Your grades are a bit low. We have to, in high schools especially, educate our 9th and 10th graders on what is GPA and what does it mean and how do you calculate GPA and why you need a 2.8 GPA if you want to take advanced Granville courses. So it's the first time when they hit 9th grade, they just know whether they've made the AB honor roll or not in 3rd through 8th grade. They get to high school and then we're so concerned about GPA. So a lot of that just academic teaching, learning, what does it mean, and then, helping them in how they can improve those things. Goals, what are their plans? They've shared lots of scholarship information with our seniors so far, so all of those sessions entail academic. One of our middle school counselors has held over 195 individual sessions with students to include all of these: academic support, peer relationship issues, that's a lot in middle school, and social behavior skills. Another middle school counselor has already made 162 family contacts, whether that's by home visits, phone calls, and reaching out to our families. And then I pulled an elementary school and our social worker who has helped develop over 60 behavioral plan strategies for students that were in one building. These are just a few examples from 4 schools of the work that our counselors or social workers and even our nurses do daily with our students. So just take a moment this week to especially highlight our school counselors that are in their building if you have a chance, or this month. They will appreciate it. Any questions?
Yes, Ms. Rice. Do the counselors work with the EC students too?
Yes, they work with all students. They work with all students, yes, ma'am.
And going back to attendance, when you said people.
Ms. Russell, please use the mic so I can hear.
When you were talking about the attendance, and I was wondering how many of those students are EC, when you were saying the ones that were disruptive and the different categories?
This percentage, I don't include, that gets a little bit more detailed about if they're identified EC, because that is a FERPA issue, are they identified? But within our schools, whenever, the nice thing about Educator's Handbook, when they log a referral, that administrator's going to know if the student is an EC student, which is why we went back to Educator's Handbook at the beginning of this year. And so when they go to suspend or assign ISS, it always gives a running total. So they know, okay, we're at 7 days, we're at 8 days, and when they're approaching the 10-day mark.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Yeah, just curious, what is our current graduation rate for Granville County?
You're just going to ask that over the top. I think last year we were at 82%. It's close. That's ballpark.
It's 84.
84, okay.
Okay. And there's room for improvement, but
Absolutely.
according to our strategic plan, the immediate goals are increasing by 1% every year.
Mhm.
So, and it's not terribly low.
No, it's not terribly low. And let me explain to y'all, when we talk about our graduation rate, that rate is based on the percentage of students that we get out in 4 years.
Right.
That is what we're held to by the state. And so we have lots of our students, look at our mid-year graduation that we had this year. A lot of those students were on the 4.5-year plan, My son was on that, and sometimes in college we have those kids. So it's just, we're getting them out. So our goal, while we show grad cohort rate, you know, it's also to reduce our dropout rate, that we want students to earn their high school diplomas.
So, Ms. Rice, if they do 4.5 years, it doesn't count toward the,
Not in our overall performance grade. I mean, you can see it on a report card. We give the 4-year rate and the 5-year rate on school report cards, but what goes into our performance grade for high schools is the 4-year rate.
And I would also, I mean, I don't know how much people see this, but I look at other districts and I see graduation rates like 96% and 95% and 94%. But I'd also like to point out that their proficiency rates are like the same as ours. And so I appreciate that we aren't just passing kids through, because you can do that. You can just pass kids through and send them up on a stage to go get a piece of paper and send them out into the world completely unprepared, or you can make sure they're getting the education that they should be getting and they're proficient in reading and writing and math, because that's what we really want, is for them to be proficient and be prepared for life after K-12.
Just like Ms. Waters shared when I was in the building, it was, the message I told them, I don't give them away. I cannot give away a high school diploma because I am letting our employers in our community know these students have earned a high school diploma. And there were many days I told them, I feel like I want it more than you right now, but that you have to earn it. And so they get there, and it's building up our ninth graders. It's that transition and, you know, of preparing our ninth graders for what it all means.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayes, I'd like to thank you for correcting the inaccurate statement that was made earlier about our graduation rates. They are not terrible by any stretch. They are just shy of the state average. And we hold to academic integrity in this district. Our diplomas mean something.
Yes.
Our students earn them.
That is right.
Thank you.
My son just got one, so I like to think that he,
Yes.
you know, that he earned it, so.
Yes. Can we do better? Yes.
Absolutely.
But the way it was portrayed earlier is not accurate at all.
Thank you, Ms. Rice,
Thank you.
for indulging.
Appreciate that. Any other questions? I think I'm next as well. About summer programs. Next up on the agenda. So every year we have summer programs. So we are refining our summer programs with our principals and Mr. Perry and Dr. Whitaker and all of our staff. But what you need to know about one of the opportunities in our summer programs is not only to just give our children a chance to have some remediation and some more very intense strategies and support to allow them to gain more knowledge and become proficient. But it also gives us a chance to re-administer the EOGs to those students who participate in our summer programs. And so the nice thing about this year, and that's what all that says, that is taken from the state, of who can retest, and it's not retest, let me correct that. It is who can have the test re-administered. And so what that does for our students is, one, that score goes on their transcript. It is what goes into the system, and so if they reach proficiency, that goes down. And it also counts for the school and the school's overall proficiency. So it's a second chance after some remediation. Next slide. Put this in a nutshell. Students who did not pass the EOC or EOG but will likely be promoted to the next grade level, those are the students that this is the purpose, to provide them an enrichment opportunity so that they can improve their skills before they move on to the next grade. And when we do that, we are allowed to re-administer the EOG or EOC to those students. All of the courses and all of the assessments are available, except this year, science. Not fifth, not eighth, not biology, because it's a new test, and we will not have the scores back yet, so we will not know about that. Next slide. So what's exciting about the wonderful decision that our board made, and we had an early start this year, is that we can have really 2 remediation programs for our students. We will have those who, what we've always had to do in the past, you get 2 days. You're going to come in on those work days after school, we're going to remediate for 2 days, and then we're going to re-administer for 2 days. But we're going to run our summer camps and a more enriched and longer program for our most needy students. And we're going to finish that up in June. And that means because we are finishing up by July 1, we can re-administer to those students at the end of that window. So our plan is to have 2 groups, those who were very close, who, you know, just need an extra 2 days and really just want a second chance to take, because sometimes we just do better when we see the test again. And then those who really need some longer, greater interventions and remediation. But the wonderful thing about that is because we do it in June, we can re-administer to both students, where in the past, when it was in July, we could not do that. So that's our plan. Any questions?
Amy, normally the remediation, it does result in kids having higher test scores. Normally, if they come in those days, remediation normally gives kids a chance to improve their scores. They come in and work hard and try to get these test scores up. Historically, it's improving their test scores.
Yes, yes. And for these who are going through the longer program, it is to prepare them to be better equipped to perform better the next year, you know, just to get them the skills that they need to be grade ready for the grade that they're going into. Any questions? Next slide, I think I say.
This does require board approval?
So this, yep, I'd love to. Go ahead and knock it out. So this requires board approval, so I can submit our remediation and re-administration plan to DPI.
A motion? Go ahead.
I move that we approve the plan for remediation as presented by Ms. Rice.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Russell to approve the plan, second by Ms. Anderson. A question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Ayes carried.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Rice, Ms. Hunt, and Dr. Codman for the information that you shared tonight. Next up, we have our CTE team. So I'll ask them to come forward. It is CTE, or Career and Technical Education Month, just as Dr. Winborn mentioned. And we do have a couple members of our team here. We have Ms. Andrea Cooper, who is our CTE Curriculum and Instructional Management Coordinator. Mr. Peter Ashford, who is our CTE Special Populations Coordinator. Ms. Tandra Loftus, who serves as the Administrative Assistant / Budget Manager for CTE. But also, I do want to recognize some folks who are not here, not able to be with us tonight, and that's Ms. Angie Salisbury, who's our Director of Secondary or College and Career Readiness in CTE, and Mrs. Tamara Rodenbar, who is our Career Development Coordinator. So they are not present with us this evening, but definitely want to acknowledge the work that they have done to make this program grow. So at this time, I'm going to give way to the team to share some information with you about CTE.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Good. Next one. All right, so there's our team up there. Mr. Perry had asked us, he said, well, we need a picture of y'all. And I went and I looked for like the last 2 or 3 years, and can you believe it? We have never took a picture together. Because in anything that we do, we're so busy taking pictures of teachers and students that I had to scramble and say, okay, here we are. But that is us up there. All right, next slide. So CTE, so I know that we do have some new board members. So in case you're unaware of career and technical education, I want to give you a term that was used long time ago, even when I was in school. It was called vocational education. So before we coined the term of CTE, it was called vocational education. And who we are, our goal is just like what Granville County Public Schools goal is, we empower. So that is one of our major goals, is we want to, excuse me, empower our students to be successful citizens, to be successful learners, and to be global leaders. So that is our goal. We have 8 program areas, so we're going to go over those. Within those areas, we have career clusters, and we have about 20 pathways. We have 20 high school teachers at the 3 traditional high schools. We have 6 middle school teachers at the 3 traditional middle schools. And then, as Mr. Perry introduced all of us, we have 5 support staff. For our 23-24 school year, we had 2,633 earned credentials across our department. We had students to compete at the international level, at the national level, at the regional level, and the state level. We can go to the next slide. So here are our program areas and pathways. So let's start with our biggest one, agriculture education. We are Granville County. We are all about ag. We have animal systems where our students are going to learn about animal science. They learn about food animal. They learn about companion animal. We also offer plant science where our students are learning about horticulture and plant science. We have ag mechanics where our students learn about the engines. Those agricultural instruments have to run, and we need someone to take care of them. So we're definitely teaching our students about the ag mechanics. Our second pathway area is going to be business, finance, marketing, education. We have entrepreneurship, where students learn to be able to have their own business. We have business management for anyone wishing to excel and manage a business. We have virtual enterprise international. These students, once they get into the program, they're given an actual job. CEO, CFO, or marketing specialist. This is a job that they have throughout the duration of the class. They run a business, they have offices. They are actually getting ready to go compete on Wednesday down in Florida with the businesses that they have. With the coming year, we are proud to announce that we're going to have sport and event marketing at South Granville High School. We have accounting this year at Granville Central. Next year, we will have that at JF Webb. Another program area that we have is computer science, technology education. We offer computer engineering, so all of those computers that you have, whether it be a laptop, whether it be a desktop, we're teaching students how to take them apart, how to look at them, how to build them, how to repair them. We also offer digital design and animation. Everything you're looking at right now, between your cell phone, between your iPad, between your computer, what we look at on our Netflix, what we look at on everything, those students are learning how to build and create those with digital design and animation. Everything runs on programming. We got to have programming. We offer Python programming at Webb and South Granville. We also offer POTW engineering, where students are learning just those core rigor skills in STEM, which we know is definitely moving forward. It is growing. It is not going anywhere. We also have family and consumer science education, where students are going to learn about culinary arts, food, and nutrition. We have health science education. These are our students. Again, we're Granville County. We're the home of Murdoch Center. We're the home of Granville Medical Center. We're the home of Upstead and Central Regional Hospital. We have to prepare those kids for positions in those fields. They are needed. So we offer healthcare professional. We offer POTW biomedical science at JF Webb. Everybody wants to know how to do CSI. I know I spent my time looking at CSI on the TV. I found out that Ms. Lees is teaching it over there. Some days I go in the room and I find that out. So we do offer that. Coming next year, we're going to offer medical assisting pathway, trade and industrial, automotive services. We offer that at Webb and South Granville. So this year, our JF Webb program had gotten its certification. We were already certified and accredited. We got reaccredited in ASC. We are definitely looking to get South Granville the ASC certification next year, and that ASC is the Automotive Service of Excellence. Through that program, our students are able to earn 5 certifications that they can use, that they can go out there directly into the workforce and obtain a job. So when we do begin working on South Granville's ASE accreditation, we may reach out to some of you, Ms. Hayes, to come in to possibly help us with earning that accreditation, okay? We are planning to offer drone technology at both JF Webb and South Granville next year, and we also have masonry at JF Webb. Our career development program area If kids do not know what they want to be when they grow up, they're able to take career management, which goes through, and students learn all about those 16 career clusters that are out there. We offer internships and apprenticeships. And last but not least, starting with next school year, the ROTC program will become a part of the CTE family. We are very excited to have them join our department. We go to the next slide. So some of our data here, last year we had 2,672 students enrolled in our classes, and that is through 6 through 12. But keep in mind, 50% of those took 2 or more of our classes. So altogether, we were able to touch 4,940. As far as our proof of learning, so I know that you guys hear a lot about what do they do for the final exam. For CTE, we offer 4 different proof of learnings for our students, okay? The first one up there is what we call PBM. That is a performance-based measurement. So instead of taking tests, our students have to actually perform some type of task, some type of activity to show proficiency in the subject area that they're being taught. And our percent proficient for those PBMs was 77%. We have another proof of learning called local. That is where our teachers get together, they collaborate, they come up with some type of proof of learning for our students. Our proficiency rate for that one was 86.8%. We also have the state assessments, and these are your normal 100 question tests. Our students there were at 68.77%, which is a big increase from the previous year, which was 56%. Again, our credentials that we've earned, 2,633 last year. That is 295 more credentials than the previous year. So we are improving. We still have a little ways to go, but we are improving. We can go to the next slide. So a couple of highlights about us. Number one, we offer authentic learning experiences for our students. That was one of the challenges that we gave every teacher. We wanted every teacher this year to provide at least one authentic learning experience for our students in each one of their classes. We offer a lot of hands-on work. We offer teamwork. I want to just draw everybody's attention to the 2 young ladies that is in that first picture right there laying those bricks. We were invited to the AIM conference in Raleigh last year, where multiple districts are able to bring CTE departments, and Ms. Salisbury wanted us to go and showcase Granville County schools. Normally when we go to things like this, you always see the tech people, or you always see, you know, other types. We decided that we were going to take a non-traditional area, which was masonry. And we took those 2 young ladies, and we took a whole bunch of people, but those 2 young ladies there stole the show, okay? Everybody came, everybody saw, because when we hear construction, when we hear masonry, we think of gentlemen, we think of men, a man-dominated field. So we decided to showcase our young ladies because a part of our goal was to make sure we increase participants in the program that's other than the gentlemen. So we took those ladies there. At the bottom, we have our virtual enterprise students. Every year before they go and compete, they present in front of us, they present in front of the community, and that's a picture of them down there. You see our ag students there, again, authentic learning experience out there working with those goats. They take them to the state fair, they take them to shows, they show them off every year. At the top right up there, we do have where our students worked over the summer with local businesses. They presented them with an issue. One being Strong Arm Baker, she came in and she said, I need help selling pizza. So the kids got together on that particular team, were able to come up with ideas for her to help promote her business. So again, once again, authentic learning experiences. Our career and technical student organizations. So we have FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. We have that at every high school. This year we were able to start DECA, which is any student that's interested in business, finance, and marketing. They're able to join that. We have that at South Granville, and we have that at JF Webb. Actually, our South Granville students just last week went to a competition. They went to a conference. They will be going to a competition for states competing for Granville County schools at the end of this month. We started Skills USA at South Granville this year. They will be competing as well in April. We have, again, our POTW program, Virtual Enterprise, and Spark. So CTE has done a lot with Spark in getting students just interested in knowing about all different other type of careers. All right, our next page. We also provide career awareness, exploration, and development. So last year, we definitely let you guys know we use Major Clarity, which is a awesome platform to help students learn about and understand and find careers that they're interested in. We continue to use that this year because I'm sure all of you are aware that every 8th grader, every 10th grader has to complete a career development plan for graduation. So we decided to use Major Clarity, and we have been implementing that at the middle school level, high school level for those students to make sure that they get those career development plans completed. Another thing that we have done, we partnered with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension, North Carolina A&T State University, and North Carolina State University to offer the Try Healthy program for our students. What this is, these are free classes where students learn about food preparation and making healthy food choices. We did our high school, we did Granville Central in the fall, and we're doing Northern Granville, and we have GC Hawley Middle School in the spring. Altogether, it's about 300 students that benefited from that program. The other thing that we're offering our career management students, so we partner with UNC Chapel Hill, NC Impact, and the Carolina 100 to provide the 7 steps to getting hired certification. It is a free certification that our students in the career management classes are taking. We've got them enrolled. That is one of our CTE month activities, is to make sure that those students get that certification, and that's going to be about 100 students that's going to benefit from that certification. All right, we can go to the next slide. These are just some general other things that we do. So last year we had a big celebration at Hawley, and with South Granville, we invited DPI to come in and see and showcase what we were doing. We had the news there, WRAL. There's a link when you guys get the opportunity to click to show that we did make WRAL. They came in. We had our students from South Granville to come in because we realize our best marketers are students. It's not us, it's the student. It's the student to be able to share their experience to another student. So we had our every pathway at South Granville. We also included ROTC, we included Chorus. They came over to Hawley last year. The students set up tables, and we had the 8th graders to come in and talk to the students about the different programs. We did it right before registration for 8th grade. Bottom left, you see POTW program, participating in activity. We have automotive there, participating in activity. We had the annual Careers on Wheels that we invite our middle school students and our elementary school students to come and learn about careers. We had students participate in the Tech Challenge, where JF Webb won $10,000 to implement a project that they implemented. Last but not least, everybody see a bottom right-hand corner? That is our fearless leader, Miss Angie Salisbury, rolled up her sleeves, got on a tractor to show students and help students get certified with the National Tractor Safety Certification. All right, next slide. Oh, my time is up. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Peter Ashford to talk about internships and apprenticeships. Thank you.
Good evening. In 2023, we had 18 summer interns. Last summer, 2024, that jumped to 33. So we were very pleased with that growth. And these interns, we had quite a few work within the district across various departments. We also had students working with businesses such as Granville Health Systems, Boys and Girls Club, the Ag Extension, along with various other businesses. I'm very pleased to highlight that Granville County Public Schools is registered through the Apprenticeship NC as an official apprenticeship program for computer systems analyst. Mr. Connor was able to do this in technology. The young man who was hired as an apprentice worked as an intern, and then after graduation was able to transition to an apprentice. And with this, we're able to offer pre-apprenticeships. And so we have 10 pre-apprentices, and you can see the areas that they are there with website and social media analyst, digital media production analyst, desktop support analyst, and artificial intelligence training and resource developer. And Apprenticeship NC, the organization that we are registered through, is really excited about what we're doing here, and they want to highlight us. And so we're going to have a signing day coming up to showcase, highlight these apprentices and the apprentice. So be on the lookout for information about that. We'd love for you all to attend. Thank you.
I do want to add that we did receive this beautiful certificate of our pre-apprenticeship from the North Carolina Community College System as our partner at Advanced Granville. So we are now certified to be able to offer those program here in this district. So major shout out to Dr. Winborn, his visionary leadership, and to our CTE team for executing and making sure that these opportunities are available for all students in Granville County. So we just hope that they will all take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them here in this district. So thank you to our CTE team, and thank you to our CTE staff for all that you do. This is your month. Celebrate and have a great time, students, with the activities that your teachers have planned.
Great presentation, Ms. Cooper, Mr. Ashbury, outstanding. A lot of energy there. I know this program doing great. I'm excited right now. I want to enjoy myself. Can I do something? I come on, do some as well. Good job. I enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you both so much. Definitely a lot to celebrate.
All right.
Yep.
Calendar.
Good evening.
Yes.
As you know, as I alluded to, we've missed a lot of school for weather, and so we had to meet our calendar committee to discuss how to recoup some of our lost instructional time. And so, we went ahead and, as you know, we made last Friday a full student work day, a full student day, and changed it from a staff work day. Again, just to recap, we have to meet 1,025 instructional hours for our student. That is how we meet the calendar law. And so, and anything over that benefits our students because we are trying to make gains with our students academically as well. So we were in the hole because of some of the days we've missed. Every time we have a 2-hour delay, every time we have an early release, we have to deduct those hours from our 1,025. So we recouped by, on January the 31st, you will see that change has already been made on the calendar. It was made to a student day. The other recommendations from the committee, because all calendar changes must be board approved, is we recommend that what was a work day, a required work day for all staff was May the 2nd. So we are proposing that that become a student day, that May the 2nd would be a student day. And that is all the proposals we have there. Let's go back. Let me read my notes there. So no makeup. January 31st and May 2nd are student days. So far, we're good, and we look good for 2 weeks out. But we had some order of, if we do have more snow between now and 2/12, the order of makeups could be that 2/17 can be made to a student day. That is President's Day, and it's an optional work day. March 14th could be made to a remote learning day. We don't have to have the remote learning days on the actual day that we miss. We can have it out past the day that we miss. So we could have enough time to let our parents know and our students that that would be a remote learning day. And then also, May 22nd and 23rd could be made into full student days. That really doesn't recap us with instructional hours, but it meets the letter of the law. But I feel really good about the weather. I'm not a snow fan, so I'm excited about the next 2 weeks.
Don't jinx us, Ms. Rice.
I'm not. It's going to be great. Looks like spring is coming. So these are our recommendations. Any questions?
Ms. Rice, for those that are watching at home or community members that may not know, could you remind everybody how many days we've actually missed?
Sure. I will. I read to the post.
And that they were not all in January?
Correct.
That we started out
Correct.
the school year?
So no one really thought, when we started this school year, we missed 2 days for hurricane. And so we started the school year a day later than we had planned. So that had to be taken out. And then again, we missed with Hurricane Helene when that came through. So right there were 2 days. And so we do, for those parents who have seen, we do have built into our calendar hours of surplus, so that if we miss a day, that we don't have to make it up, that we have those extra instructional hours. Generally, you want those to be for snow day, so students can go out and play. Not many went out and played in hurricane weather, but we used those there. Because the last 2 years we haven't missed for snow, so we just assumed we might be okay. And then January came and we had snow and ice. So that really put us in the hole. We've learned a lot. We know going forward for next year that we will have remote learning plans ready to go for hurricane days as well. We're learning. We want to improve as well. But we are not eating into spring break, all those ideas that came forth that we had proposed. No, we never even thought about that. So we have a plan.
This is an action item on the calendar.
Motion to approve the traditional calendar changes as presented.
I second.
Motion made by Daniel Hayes, second by Ms. Anderson. Ready for question?
Ms. Russell.
I'm sorry. Ms. Russell, all in favor of the question, say aye. Opposed, say right. Ayes carried.
Wonderful.
Okay.
It will be the same for early college has made some adjustments. They handle their own calendar. Actually, they didn't have to make too many changes because there had been a miscalculation of their days. And so they actually had more student days than had been included in the formula. So they're hanging on with a surplus of hours right now, and so they're good to go. So there's actually no changes recommended for early college.
Next year's calendar.
Sir?
That's their next year's calendar.
Yes, and that's their next year's calendar. So one thing I would like to go ahead and propose tonight, after we've looked at this and knowing that our calendar next year is another teacher and family-friendly calendar. We have a lot of work days at the end of our 9 weeks and grading periods. We have another fall break. So that we can make sure that we do have surplus hours when we hit the winter months and snow. And so if we have some kids can just go outside and play and have a snow day. And also after looking at our December attendance for this year, I would recommend, the committee recommends, not Amy Rice, I do not, let's back that up. We recommend that the 18th and the 19th of December that are early release days go ahead and be full student days. Our high schools are taking exams. Those students will still be finished earlier and can check out if they need to be or want to be, but we'll still run our buses and run a regular school day. And we hope that will improve our attendance, and also we'll have those instructional hours in our bank as well. And that way we can send this calendar home at the beginning of the year next year and everyone would know it. So the committee's recommendation is to make the 18th and the 19th of next year's December calendar full student days.
You need a motion?
Did I actually?
I move that we make the 18th and 19th of December for next school year full student days.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Russell, second by Ms. Anderson, Ms. Baker, that we'll approve calendar number B. Ready for question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carried.
Thank you very much.
So there is, just to clarify, there's one additional calendar to approve, and that is Granville Early College's calendar for next school year.
My
And this is being
apologies.
presented to you for the first time.
Okay.
And the reason this comes late is because we've been waiting for the Advanced Granville, their calendar to be approved.
Need a motion for approve the early college calendar, please? Anybody, motion, please?
Second.
Motion, Ms. Anderson, to approve early college calendar, second by Ms. Baker. Ready for questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Ayes carried.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Hines here with fiscal responsibility.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
We are starting tonight with our monthly budget amendments. The first amendment you see is with our state fund. And this, let me look at the right page. This budget amendment adds new funding received for our school safety grant for SROs, $308,000. For our teacher performance bonuses, about $117,000. Literacy intervention program for $124,000, and some other moves with EC and AIG budgets. At this amendment adds $550,115 to our state budget, for a total of $55.8 million. The next area is our local fund. The major change in this is to adjust our budget for consolidation needs. And we allocated, based on all of the studies that had been put together, I allocated $613,000 for that consolidation. I think it's important to note, because you can see that we've decreased regular instructional services. What's important to know is that we're not taking away from our regular instruction for this change. If you remember correctly, we've talked about the savings that we have found in the budget, and part of that savings was several positions that were decreased. There were several vacant positions that were simply not filled and removed, and that's where that's coming. That's why it's under regular instructional. I just think it's important to know that we're not taking from instruction in order to do this. The plan to cover consolidation is to use the savings from our existing budgeted use of fund balance, so we don't dip into fund balance any further. And the next budget amendment we have is our other restricted fund, or Fund 8. And this amendment allocates our recycling revenue of $1,430 and adds our North Carolina Teaching Fellows pilot grant of $55,000. So we're adding to our other restricted fund $56,430, and that brings our total to $6.2 million in that budget. Do you have any questions about those budget amendments? That does come to you with a recommendation for approval.
Okay. Need a motion on report presented by Ms. Hines.
Motion to approve the budget amendments as presented.
I second.
Motion by Mrs. Hayes, second by Ms. Russell here for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Ayes carried.
Thank you. Let's do the budget review. Next, we'll take a look at our monthly budget review. If you notice at the top, this is as of the end of December 31st. At this point of the year, we've paid for almost half of our, not quite half, of our local supplements. And if you see that top local budget, again, at this point, we're about 50% through the school year. So you can see that that local budget is a little less than 50%, which is what we would expect to see at this time. And our state budget, you can see, is at 48%. If you look at those personnel and benefits lines, that 47 and 48% means that there's a little bit of money that I can go after right there. So we'll be maximizing the use of those state funds and moving some local expenses into that as soon as possible. In the next grant areas, you see our federal budget. It's important to note that that is our full federal budget. You know, we've been talking about that's been coming on slowly, but we finally have all of our federal budgets allocated. And you can see where we are with that. Our other restricted are Fund 8 grants as well. And we don't expect to see those completely expended every year, so that 43% is not disturbing to me, because that does carry forward. Our capital funds, you can see, are at 60%. So they're ahead of the game a little bit, but they are definitely working on using those capital funds. And then, of course, we have our business-type funds. Community schools, child nutrition are looking good. These are self-supporting programs, and they are looking good with their budget right now. Any questions about that budget review?
Okay, so capital. Remember last month, I brought up,
Yes, and that has been corrected in this.
right.
Yes.
So is there a correction for the one that was included in last month's?
Correct, that has been deleted. It was just a matter of, it was a duplicated purchase order. So yes, that has been corrected. So these are accurate numbers, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Because I believe, if I remember correctly, last month, it said 60%.
It was at 71.
The 70, yes, there you
Yeah.
go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, it had, we had done one month and done the other month, and it just confused everything, so I apologize for that. All right, next item, board travel? PD, yes, thank you. I will forever call it board travel, but it is in fact professional development. And you can see down at the bottom, the summary, we had no expenses in December, so the remaining balance is still $3,922. But again, just for your information. We're adding something a little new to this update. In January, if you remember correctly, the board back in '22 changed our mileage reimbursement rate to match the state rate. And the state follows the IRS rate, the federal rate, which changes every January. And they announced in December that they are increasing the federal mileage reimbursement rate to 70 cents. It's currently 67 cents per mile, and it's increasing to 70 cents per mile. So again, that's just informational, just to let you know that that is the new rate. Any questions about any of that? Okay. Thank you. I'm going to move on to budget development. It's fun times, fun times. So, in developing the budget, and of course we worked, you all mentioned that we talked about this at the Finance Committee last week. I wanted to review, because we have so many new board members, I just want us to all be on the same page of what this budget process looks like and the timeline. Obviously, we are working on budget requests and that review right now. And what's important is that we are next meeting with the county commissioners. Dr. Wimborne is presenting to the county commissioners at their county commissioners retreat on February 17th. And we would like to have some firm numbers to share with the county at that point. So we're going to back up, and the week before, the Finance Committee is going to meet again, and at that point, they'll have a draft proposal to review. And we're going to go through a little bit of what that looks like right now. I just wanted to give you that timeline. And then, of course, the final budget proposal for the county will come back to the board at the March meeting on March 3rd. We'll submit it to the county, and then we'll be presenting officially that budget proposal on March 19th to the county office. Okay, next slide, please. And also just a reminder that this development of the county budget proposal is just the first part, the first step in developing our budget. This is what the timeline refers to, is developing this county proposal. We have to start with estimating our state funding. We haven't gotten that state funding yet, but we do have some estimates, and we'll go over that in just a little bit. But that county budget proposal is what's due so early, and what's going to be approved at the March meeting. After that, we looked towards building the final budget resolution, right? And that involves our state funding, and that we'll talk about in just a little bit. It involves our local funding, which we won't find out until about June, what that funding looks like. So we kind of have to wait to build that final budget resolution until we have all of that information. In the meantime, if we don't have that resolution in place by June 30th, we'll bring an interim budget resolution for the board to approve. And what that allows us to do is spend at the current year's spending levels until a final budget resolution is in place. So just to have this in mind, and sometimes I have to remind myself that the full budget isn't going to be ready, can't possibly be ready in time for this county budget proposal. However, we make informed decisions based on the information that we have available to us. Okay? Next slide, please. So as we're looking at our state budget, our state funding, if you remember from last year, the state DPI started talking about the funding in arrears model, which is different from the EC funding in arrears that you heard about earlier. The funding in arrears model basically takes our best one of two calculation, our ADM, our enrollment, from the best of PMR 1 or PMR 2, whichever is the highest. And that is how they will determine our funding for the next school year, which is lovely because it gives us a good starting point we can plan. What's not lovely is the picture you see in front of you necessarily, and you can see that our current year ADM funding that we're working on is the $6,477. But you can see that our actual best one of two ADM for this current year is $6,287. That's a drop of 190 students. And that is how our state funding is going to be determined coming soon. And you can see there that we have just heard that our preliminary allotments are expected in just a couple of weeks. So that 190 student drop, what we're expecting that to look like is a drop of approximately 12 positions, because remember, we get some of our funding with just positions. And so a drop of about 12. And I'm estimating about in our dollar allotments, that would be a drop of about $450,000. Again, estimated. But we hope to get that concrete information in the next couple of weeks. Now, what's important is that some of those positions we won't need because we don't have the students here, right? There's some of that goes right along. However, we also lose pieces of instructional support and pieces of assistant principals, and that's what makes it complicated. Okay, next slide, please. Of course, we talked a little bit at that joint committee meeting, you saw this there, is that county tier designation. We may as well see, most of that dollar allotment change would come from that low wealth, because that's our largest allotment out of the state. That's a very large allotment. So that's where I would expect to see a big change. However, I do expect us to continue being eligible for those low wealth funds. Again, knock on wood. I'm fairly confident that we're still going to be eligible for those funds. Questionable is the next item, that state supplemental funds for teacher compensation. If we are eligible for low wealth, then we are also eligible for those additional funds. And remember, those are the funds we're paying the extra 2% supplement to our teachers out of. We do know for certain that our early college funding will decrease by $50,000. And of course, we know that our capital funding, those large grants for capital, have less of a priority for Tier 3 counties. And it sounds like this is something that kind of goes back and forth, the county, between Tier 2 and Tier 3. So we'll just have to watch that moving forward. Next slide, please. As we're developing our budget and as we've gone through the year, it's important to think about how we have helped ourselves in our budgeting and making it through. Consolidation, maximizing our base is huge. What you all have done with consolidation has solved many problems. And we'll just have to continue to watch to see where we land with this. Does it make the full impact we need it to make? and we'll continue to watch that. We've been adjusting staffing needs. HR has done an amazing job adjusting staffing needs in anticipation of where we know we're going to land, rather than hiring positions for when we know that we're going to be shrinking. They've been putting, temporary things in place, which has been very helpful to our overall budget. And of course, we maximize that state supplement funding. That is a huge, that saved just over $600,000 from our budget in itself, which was much appreciated, being able to use that funding. And then, of course, we're just prioritizing our funding. Our departments are going through their budgets, and we're figuring out what our priorities in the district are and making it work. Next slide, please. This is really just kind of remember, because if you remember correctly, we're using $4.1 million of fund balance. And this little chart is kind of a blast from the past. That's kind of when we created this budget. What were those drivers that were creating that tremendous use of fund balance? And I just kind of wanted to refer back to that and look at how that's changed moving forward. Those pre-cliff positions, the cliff before the cliff, it's consolidation, got rid of those. That's not going to be an issue next year. Those have been resolved. Attendance counselor, instructional coaches, NC Ed core teachers, or tutors, sorry. Those are still priorities in the district. So we're going to be looking at those to figure out how to envelop those in our overall budget, because they are, again, still priorities. We talked about those positions that we have that are above the allotment that we get from the state, teacher assistants that we have in middle school and high school, instructional support above the allotment, APs, assistant principals above the allotment. Those are partially fixed by consolidation as well. We still have some above the allotment, because we're never going to be funded for middle school and high school teacher assistants. We're never going to have funding for that. But we see that as a priority in this district as well. APs, we're never going to receive funding for all of the APs, for an AP at every school. But again, this district has seen that as a priority in the past. The supplement, local supplement, that additional 2% for school-based certified, that we've been able to fund with that state supplement. That's fantastic. The moving to 5% for classified, that's an ongoing cost that we still have. But again, we see that as a priority for the district as well. So just kind of wanted to revisit those and talk about where we've landed at this point. Next slide, please. So the initial priorities that we've talked about, and the Finance Committee kind of landed the same place. As we're building the proposal for the county, is number one, we're going to focus on those continuation funds, right? We've got positions in our local funds, positions and our local supplement that are going to be affected, by any increase in salary and benefits that's required by the state. Right now, and what some district supports are planning to do, and in other districts, is going for 5%. We definitely expect retirement and health insurance to go up 5% this year. We've been getting that word a lot. Salaries, it's really difficult to say. Really, after Helene, it might not be as much, but I feel like it's important to go ahead and plan for the worst, best, however you want to say, case scenario of a 5%. So I'm planning to build this budget with a 5% increase in salaries and benefits. The next area is recruitment and retention and staff. Local supplement is a critical issue. Again, we're managing that extra 2% internally right now, so we don't necessarily feel the need to request those funds from the county. However, want to have that on the radar, because if something happens with our state supplemental funding, that needs to be considered. I see a question mark.
Well, I was just hoping you could fill in board members on how we landed, well, how we went from 12 to 14, or I will, if nobody else wants to.
Oh, 10, 12?
No, from 12 to 14. So we've had 12% local supplement for a few years now, but when we were flush with about 27 million in ESSER funds, the board decided to increase the local supplement to 14%, correct?
No.
10 to 12.
It was 10 to 12, exactly.
Okay, 10%, and they decided to use ESSER funds to increase it to 12%. But then didn't think about the continuation of that increase and talking to the county commissioners about continuing that increase after ESSER funds were gone, because ESSER funds were always finite and they were always going to go away last September. And so it's always been a little bit of a contentious point that there was not very much communication.
I will say, when the extra 2% was initially put on using our local dollars, because we were using fund balance at that point, it was determined to be finite at that point. It was going to be a two-year project to kind of get us through that rough time. However, last year, we had made the request to the county for that extra 2%, and it was not funded. But I'm really grateful that we continued that 12% and we're able to use the state funds out of it, because it really does. It has been able to change. The county is still providing their 10%, and but we're able to, as long as we have that state supplemental funding, we're good, as long as we still have that funding accessible to us. But thank you for bringing that up. You're right. There's definitely history there.
So, okay, if you don't get the state supplemental funding, you still have a plan?
No. I mean, honestly, if we don't get the state supplemental funding, then we are not able to do the 2%, unless we decide to use our existing local funds. If the board would like to request that an additional 2%, I'm happy to add that to the county proposal.
So I think this is an excellent kind of point to pause on, because Ms. Hayes brought up a great point. Really what we have right now is a 10% local supplement. Correct. And a 2% state supplement on top of that.
Correct.
It's funded that way.
Correct.
But in the eyes of our teachers, they're getting a 12% supplement in addition to their state salary.
Correct.
The question you're raising, Ms. Russell, if the state money doesn't come through, what's going to happen? And so, we've talked about this as a team, and I'm sorry I wasn't at the finance committee meeting, to hear how the conversation was around that. We feel like we need to let the county Board of Commissioners know that this is a vulnerability, and that we would like some assurance from them that this baseline of 12% is held. I'd love it for it to be more. I'd love it for it to be 14, but we cannot go backwards.
That's what I was giving us. Okay.
Yeah. That's basically telling where they're going to get a 2% pay cut. And I just don't see how that's going to fly, quite
May
frankly.
I ask a question? I know you're going to propose it. What are the chances of them giving in?
Well, I don't know. I think we were all in the meeting together. I heard,
Yeah,
I heard that there's a lot of good intentions and goodwill, but there's also, the resources are very finite.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's why I asked.
it's tough,
Yeah.
which is why we keep looking at every corner to cut and save money. Look, here in helping ourselves, I love the title of that slide. Every chance we get, we are trying carve out money so that we're not behind the 8 ball, so to speak.
And I don't think it's a matter of them giving in. I think it's a matter of
Right.
what they have to prioritize our county tax dollars being used for. I mean, you know, I'm glad I don't have to make the decision between whether to pay our deputies a living wage or give our teachers the 2% supplement. Because, you know, do you prioritize public safety or public education from year to year?
Absolutely.
I mean, like, I can't answer that question, and I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. So, I feel like we should, some of them already know. I've talked to some of them about this at length. When we went from the 10% to the 12% supplement, our average supplement in Granville County moved us from ranked 54th in the state to ranked 34th in the state, which is fantastic for recruitment and retainment of great educators in our district. And I would love to be able to continue that. I think it's fair to ask and at least explain the situation, and prudent. I don't know what we can expect them to do, but I do think it's fair to ask that.
I think we should ask.
Sounds good. It will definitely be included in some way in the proposal, for sure. Absolutely. And we should know, again, that state supplement, we would be eligible as long as we're eligible for low wealth money. And we should have that information in the next few weeks. So that at least won't be a September, October learning curve. So hopefully we'll know that sooner rather than later. Other priorities that we have, really, it's not something that we are requesting additional funding for. It is just in our focus. You know, we are absolutely focused on safety and security, increasing SROs. We are focused on attendance and instruction. Those tutors, those instructional coaches are valuable in this district, and it's something that we want to continue to include in our budget moving forward. Not necessarily requesting additional funds for it, but definitely planning for it. And then finally, protecting. That's a very good. And finally, our request is the funding per the county's long-range plan. We simply request the funding as that plan has laid out, which is an increase from the current year. Excuse me.
And Ms. Hines, if I may, I would like to add a sub-bullet under that last one for some targeted special one-time assistance for our high schools. You know, those capital needs. Under that cap, continue with what they have budgeted and sort of projected out, but if they could find some one-time extra assistance for our two traditional high schools.
That's good. Next slide, please. So we're going to continue the work. The budget work is going to be continuing from here on to the beginning of the school year. So that's just a continuous process. We'll have our finance committee meeting to review the draft proposal, and then we'll be moving to the board meeting and the county presentation in March.
I have a question
Yes.
about the SROs. If the city, like, let's say Creedmoor, Butner, Oxford, if they supplied SROs or, you know, at least one in the schools, would that help that would definitely help our budget, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and our budgeting for that has changed this year, because right now, the city, we're paying directly for the city, I believe it's 3 SROs through the different municipalities. The county is managing the SROs that they're providing, and we're providing them with the additional grant funding that we've received to help cover the cost for those SROs. So really, the county is providing quite a lot with the SROs, and we're very grateful for that, for sure. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right.
Can I make a request? if the finance meeting gets moved, will you just send out a board email? I know that I'm not on the committee, but with us getting ready to present at the county commissioner retreat and make a budget recommendation, I'd really like to sit in.
Sure,
and listen,
absolutely. So, I believe it's at 2 o'clock on February
Right, I'm just
13th.
saying, like, if like,
2 o'clock.
you know, that week.
Yes.
Because we get a wonderful email from our clerk with the weekly schedule, but if it gets moved after that.
Yes,
that'd be
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Hines, if I could.
Absolutely.
So I just want to share, at the Finance Committee, we hope to bring a more refined version of that last slide. And,
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know,
Yes.
hopefully maybe even a draft of what my presentation, and Vicki will be there with me, to the county commissioners will look like.
Yes.
But even, let's just say for a minute, everything goes great, and we are managed to get favorable outcomes from the county. We're looking at a continued set of pressures on this school district for the following year that are only going to be resolved with additional right sizing. So that's something I want everyone to kind of be thinking about now, because, you know, I don't want to talk about closing any more schools until we take care of the current, you know, task at hand. But this will come quickly, next fall. And so it'll be time to kind of take another hard look at this and see what your appetite is for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Kern?
Good evening again. So the operations update, just want to start with the facilities transition timeline. This moves a little bit slower than the HR timeline just because of when we'll actually move the schools. But we are on target. Our project manager, Mr. Bill Graham, has begun. So I have handed over the reins of this consolidation operations-wise to him to get planning. We are in the contract process, and so our next steps will be contracting out the moves and all the little parts and pieces that are kind of related to that. Next slide, please. We have met as a team and had our second planning meeting and have broken the project really into 4 moves. We really need to move Granville Central, then both middle schools, then Butner STEM Elementary, in the way that kind of makes sense. And so we are looking to find one company that can handle all 4 moves. That would be our ultimate goal. If it's not feasible, if it's not possible, then it's not, but that's our goal. What is happening now, because these moves are not just going to be happening in June, they're starting now, is fencing at Butner STEM Middle School. They will need fences for a playground for their elementary school students, and they will need fencing for pre-K classrooms. And so that process has already begun with our maintenance department. Casey Richardson, who is an amazing administrative assistant in the operations department, has already started the process of ordering materials for packing, like the boxes and the tape and all the other things that we'll need for that. We are in the process of determining location needs. So our tech department with Mr. Connor and his wonderful techs, the academic department with Mr. Perry and all of the instructional coaches and different departments there. And then just maintenance, of course, is involved in determining what actually needs to be moved to each school so that we can create lists and we can check things off as we go and make sure that nothing gets left behind. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. We're not moving personal items. We learned our lesson, so we're not doing that this year. So teachers, if you're listening, prepare for that process. But, we are in the middle of contacting vendors and doing some additional walkthroughs. We've already moved tables to, like cafeteria tables to schools and kind of staged them in classrooms so that they're ready to go for next year. So we already are doing those kinds of things to make this process a little bit easier. And Dr. Ham and his team have already started creating bus routes for next year based on the information that we currently have about students. And I think the middle schools were completely done when I talked to him earlier today, and they're working on the high schools. So we're really moving forward. Our next steps are actually signing the contracts. Those walkthroughs are just going to continue now through the end of the school year, making some determinations about the playgrounds and whether or not we can move them, or the company will need to move them, or we'll need to find some money and buy a playground. So that's something that we're looking into. And then storage versus disposal and surplus. That's an issue for us. We don't have storage. A lot of people may say, well, why can't you just use the empty buildings in storage? And the answer to that is, as long as we own them and they are school buildings, they have to remain as school buildings, ready to go per fire marshal and insurance and other things. And so we can't just throw stuff in there. They are not zoned for that. And so we have to make some very crucial decisions about what needs to be kept and what needs to not be kept. Things that are broken that we have hung on to just in case will probably not be hung on to anymore. And we're hoping through the surplus property process we can recruit some consolidation funds for us. We are, of course, looking at safety updates and then inventorying items. We are a little concerned about some of the smaller technology pieces that are not really handled through the technology department. But we are going to figure that process out and make sure that those get moved where they need to go. We're thinking things like document cameras, webcams, things like that. We just don't want anything to get lost in this process. Next slide. You have any questions for me about this process or what we're doing or anything so far?
I did, about the storage facilities. So the schools have storage at the schools? I mean, the ones that are closed, they do have storage?
So we have limited storage in our buildings, but we couldn't like take a classroom and just fill it up with stuff.
Right.
We can't do that. But, could desks stay in there as a working classroom? Yes, that could be a possibility. Any questions? Okay. And now shift into the human capital management side. Here we go. So, yeah, there we go, that's right. All right, so where are we as of today with our staff reassignment? The custodians have been reassigned, that happened in December. Clerical CTE teachers happened in January. EC staff also happened in January, as well as teacher assistants, instructional support staff, and child nutrition staff. So a big chunk of our staff members have already been reassigned for next year. There are some displaced staff in those numbers because we did have more people than we had positions, but we are not finished, and so we are still finding places for every person at this point. We still need to reassign school administrators, core and elective teachers, and athletic coaches, and then those displaced staff members. School administrators, we are planning to make those announcements, make those changes in March. Core and elective teachers will actually start at the end of February. Once open enrollment stops tomorrow and we get final counts on how many students are going to be at each school, we'll have a better idea of where they need individuals, and we'll be able to place those. And then athletic coaches will occur after principals and assistant principals have been assigned to schools. One really exciting tidbit, one issue that is consolidation is helping is our bus driver shortage. So already next year, Granville Central Middle School will have 11 drivers, Webb 7, Northern Granville 8, and South Granville High School will have 14 on staff. So we're really excited about that. The southern end of our county has been the most difficult staffing situation when it comes to buses, and this will really help to alleviate the issues that they're having. So super excited about that one. Next slide, please.
May I ask a question before you go?
Yes, ma'am.
How many, if you happen to know, how many are displaced?
Right now, we have 5 staff members who are displaced. We had closer to 10 staff members who were displaced, and I was able to find positions for 5 of those. But, we're also still getting resignations, retirements from people for next year. So, for instance, we had a head custodian that we did not have a head custodian position for, but one of our head custodians turned in his retirement paperwork. So we were able to move that head custodian into another head custodian position. So as things like that occur, we will continue to make changes and placements as needed.
And one more inquiry, if you don't mind. Is there a possibility that I could acquire a list of those persons that have or versus have not been placed?
I'm sure, I have it. I mean, I can send it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
that's not a problem.
appreciate that.
Mhm. I will tell you that that is not something that we are sharing publicly.
I'm asking for me.
Yes,
for
but that
control.
is something I can get, yeah.
Thank you.
So, absolutely. So you'll see we are right on time. A lot of the pieces of this we were able to do a little bit early, just based on when we were able to get the staff interest survey completed. So we are excited that we're kind of moving forward with this. Next slide. Just again, a review of the reassignment factors. There are multiple pieces that go into the reassignment of staff members, evaluation data, attendance, the documented disciplinary issues, licensure matters, of course, whether or not they have a CDL is a factor. The ability to fill the position is there, but to be honest, right now, that's the same for everybody. So, it can be difficult to fill pretty much any position. Of course, the number one component is what do students need at those schools? How are we going to best serve students at those schools? And that's always our number one priority. But we have included things like employee intent forms. We are trying to take what they want to occur also into consideration in this process. Next slide, please. So that's really the reassignment process, but as Vicki said earlier, we are already planning for the 2025-2026 school year and looking at projections. And so I'll start with the positive news. Consolidating the schools actually allowed us to add a high school position, because now we don't have 0.1 of a position and 0.2 of a position and 0.3 of a position somewhere else. Those kids are all in one place, and so we can add a teacher, which just means that it gives them more opportunities in that school to do whatever best meets the needs of the students of that school. So that's a positive. What is a little less positive is that we still have significant challenges in elementary and middle school positions. Right now, we are projected to lose about 3 teacher positions at the elementary school level, 2 enhancement positions. Those are your electives teachers like PE, art, music, and 6 teacher assistant positions. Those teacher assistant positions do not include our middle schools or high schools. Those are just elementary. And they do not include Phoenix Academy, Granville Academy, or Granville Early College High School. In our middle school teacher positions, we are looking at losing 2 positions there. We do believe that we will be able to, absorb all of these through attrition, but the position itself will no longer exist. So we don't think we'll have to remove a person for this process.
Ms. Curran, that is a result of the projections of the number of students that we will have.
Correct. And again, that's based on this year's numbers, our best 1 of 2 this year. So that could change next year, depending on the impact of charter schools and homeschools and things like that. Okay. But the overall trend in our elementary and middle schools has been decreasing enrollment. So this is not a new issue for us. Any questions about our projections for 25-26? Okay. Thank you.
Board members, if I may, I'm really pleased that we are on track and on schedule with our student reassignments. our staff reassignments, and our work around the facility planning for reorganization. Those timelines, the tasks that we laid out before Christmas, everything's on track. So we've got amazing folks working really hard, and I'm so appreciative of all they're doing. Thank you, Ms. Kern.
Thank you, Dr. Kern, for that presentation and your hard work. Now it's time to go into closed session. Need someone make a motion to go into closed session?
A second.
Okay, it's moving properly second. We'll go to closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Short break, guys. Come back and wrap it up.